I was one of the Native American children, adopted at birth and removed from our country's Indian reservation system. I was raised in a small middle-class farming community, but was never told of my true American Indian heritage. It was still taboo back in those early days. The years passed, and in 1987 I lost both parents. While going through their personal belongings, my wife discovered my adoption papers and she began a search. 5 years later, I was reunited with my biological Lakota family living on the Lower Brule Sioux Indian Reservation of South Dakota. I am a son of two mothers and a product of two worlds that had collided. But I have an equal amount of love and pride for both. I'm Paul LaRoche, and the stories you are about to see are an attempt to share this true American story of a hidden heritage. There was a name that would pop up many times over the course of the Brule journey. The name was Ed McGaa. Ed was a Lakota elder from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation of South Dakota, and he was steeped in the traditional ways of the Oglala Lakota people. We first met through a mutual friend early on in the Brule journey. Ed was fascinated with our story and eager to meet us. Our first meeting was the beginning of a long friendship that would last until Ed's final days, some 25 years later. Ed was also a writer and author and wrote several books on Native American spirituality and traditional teachings. As a matter of fact, I read all of Ed's books as part of my assimilation back into the Lakota culture. Ed was the spiritual leader at my first sweat lodge ceremony and provided spiritual counsel over the many years of Brule travels. Ed came to visit us once. It was close to his final years, and he mentioned to my son Shane how much he missed going trout fishing up in the small streams high in the Black Hills. His health was failing even then, but Shane carried him on his back down along the creekside so he could enjoy one last fishing excursion. He returned one last time that summer. Unexpectedly, Ed said he would like to talk for a while, so I asked if I could record the conversation. He was more than pleased with my request, and so he spoke at length about life, memories, and the ways of the Lakota. It was to be our last meeting, as Ed passed away some several weeks later. Following is our conversation.
I'm Ed McGaa, Eagle Man, Oglala Lakota. I was born in Pine Ridge way back before World War II. I had 4 brothers in combat in World War II. They were quite a bit older than me. And I had another brother, I would have had 5, but he got hurt in training camp. And he became an iron worker, and I became an iron worker, and made a lot of money, enough to go through college without owing a dime. And my parents were poor, but they were good parents. William McGaa and Julie McGaa, they spoke excellent Indian. So when you hear me talk a little bit of Indian here, I have a good accent.
So, tell me what it was like when you were a kid growing up.
Oh, it was a happy time for me because I didn't know any better. It's helpful to be ignorant and not know anything. And I was just a little boy, and a great big world war was happening. My brothers were in the service, so my brother was a Marine, and he was a Hall of Fame baseball player in South Dakota. Then he went on to the pros, and he probably might have made it all the way. He was a great pitcher, Mickey McGaw. So he was my idol, and I did watch him as a little boy when he pitched. And then he went away in the Marines for 4 years in the islands, and he played at the prime of his life, so he never really went on much further. But anyhow, he was an idol, and I used to wear his Marine hat. Everything was World War II, Victory Gardens, medal collection. People were not prejudiced as much because the Indian men were off into the service. And the ranchers and farmers, some of them had to stay back because they had to grow crops. So that made it easier for them some of their boys to stay back. And all the Indians volunteered. If you were 4F, you snuck around to another service and tried to get in, everything possible. So that was, in a way, it was a happy time for a little boy because I could pretend that I was a Marine. I wore my Marine hat, and I could sing Marine's hymn backwards and forwards. And so I wasn't bad. And then I got into sports, and I was a pretty good athlete. I'm quick as can be. I've won 2 gold medals at a much older age in this fastest growing sport in the nation. Pickleball, www.pickleball.com. Go up on it and you'll find out. It's just growing. And tennis players and racquetball players all go into it because you lose your arm after you play a lot of tennis, which I did. I was a good athlete. So I played baseball and I played basketball and I made the varsity, made the American Legion team. And then I went into the Marines. And I was very fortunate that I had good athletic friends. So I didn't have it so bad. I didn't have a date in high school, but I just figured that's the way it is. I'm an Indian. And Indians don't, some girls kind of like me, but they didn't dare take me home to their dad because the dad would say, "Don't ever bring that damn Indian around here." And you just accepted it. And I never went to any parties, but I had 2 good athletic buddies that we didn't really care much. There's a couple more. We went out camping and hunting, and we just did guy things. And I did wind up going to prom because my good friend was so handsome, and he was a quarterback, but he didn't want to get around girls because he wanted to be a professional athlete. He was afraid that if he ever went steady, that he might have an accident and maybe have to get married. And he said it would ruin his life. Which he's right. So he talked me into going in the Marine Corps, and we got bigger, and he wound up playing for the Baltimore Colts. I was very fortunate in that World War II came, and we had to move off the reservation. We had a ranch there. All that area, northern part of the reservation, was made into a federal bombing range. It was simply government need. And so we had about 30 days to get out of there, and we did move to Rapid City, and I didn't have to go to boarding school. Had I gone to boarding school, I never would have been a F-4 pilot, never would have gotten a law degree, never would have been a writer for HarperCollins, because I just would not have been adequately academically prepared. The boarding schools, especially the missionary ones, were too bent on Jesus, religion, and they sacrificed academic education. My brothers and sisters couldn't go near a college because they were not prepared. Our older brothers and sisters. Somehow they made it mainly through the military, and they had decent lives. But many Indians just never progressed, and it was not their fault. So we went to Rapid City, and the Air Force gave older Indian men jobs. Those days, Indians were not hired. But in the military, eminent domain changed everything. So my dad was hired, and we've had construction work ever since until he was 65 years old. He was a good worker. So Garland Construction Company had him as one of their main employees because he mixed mud for bricklayers. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a very important job because bricklayers are very persnickety about their mud, their cement, and they get a good mud mixture, especially one that's dependable. He couldn't drive a car, but Garland Construction Company would pick him up. The straw boss, Merle Skoog, would pick him up every morning, early, an hour early, because you have to have your mud ready for the bricklayers. Then I got a job at 14, and those days, wartime, they didn't have all these rules. And I pushed mud for my dad, and then I chewed 5 bricks in each tong. And I carried it, and I'd go across the steel beams when they have the school gym and stuff. And I was really adept at balance. My dad had a fit about it, but so I became an iron worker. And I went to the Marine Corps, became a welder, a certified welder, paid my way through college. So I was really blessed by the Marine Corps to be able to have a good trade, come out, and iron workers were paid an exceptional amount of money. But you'd risk your life. A brother got killed at it. And I took over right where he left off because I was a certified welder, and the government was pretty fussy about having union labor they must have certified welders, which I was. Anyway, it was a good job, and I wound up at St. John's University, a very good school in Minnesota. And they were putting up a huge church, and I wound up working on that church. And even during school months, I would work a couple weekdays. They saved up the welding and that I would have to do. And I was paid real good money. So I never owed any money at all from a very pricey school, St. John's University, Minnesota, good school. And then from there, I went on into the Marine Corps. And I became a pilot. I always did want to fly. And I always wanted to be a jet pilot. And when I was little, it was a F-4F Wildcat and F-4F Hellcat. Joe Foss was our later governor, but he was a hero. And I wound up being in the same squadron that he was the first commander of. So, and I love flying. I probably should have stayed in the Marine Corps. Probably should have never become an author. And I'd have made bird colonel I might even made brigadier general or general, because I had a real good track record, and my combat was I was pretty good at combat.
Now, tell me a little bit, Ed, about, what was it like to be a pilot but still be an Indian? There must have been a little bit of stigma to that, wasn't there?
Well, to the outside world, they think of you as a Flash Gordon type, and it's actually just a job. But at first, you don't think so. You're thrilled when you go to flight school. You're just thrilled. My first ride at Pensacola, the instructor has mirrors, and he's watching the reaction. And a lot of guys vomit. A lot of guys get scared. A lot of guys quit. I sat in the back seat my first stop. And I was just a second lieutenant. I just come out of OCS. I was still single then. And I smiled. He put it in a roll and loop, barrel roll, Immelman, just rang it out and pulling G's. And every time he'd do that, I'd sit back there and smile. And when he'd go in, and during the height of it, when you're pulling G's, I'd have just kind of a distorted smile probably, but I was just happy as a clam. And I wanted him to keep on doing it because it was thrilling. And so when he came down, he laughed. He called another instructor over and just landed. He was playing at his student. He called him over. He said, "This guy here, we all call him Chief." He said, "He's the happiest damn student pilot I ever saw in my life." He said, "You really liked it, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You can't wait to solo now." 9 hops later, we'd solo. I said, "Well, yes, sir. I'm kind of looking forward to it." I know. He says, "I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing some acrobatics." I said, "Yes, sir, on my own." I said. Anyway, so that was a thrill. I love flying. It was a lot of fun. I crashed a few airplanes and darn near got killed. But even after that, I'm like a horse, Indian horse. The Indian horse will be out hunting buffalo. Some will trip and fall, and they'll go underneath the buffalo hooves. The horses don't even notice that. What Dr. Bride told me that I got most of my material from, because he interviewed all these Indians when he was a young priest. And later he married a nun. But I flew him, and I learned a lot of my history. And he told me that the Indians told him the horses would neigh with happiness when they would be in the buffalo hunt. And I hunt pheasants, so your dog, they don't bark too much, Goldens, but you can tell that they're really happy when the guns are going off. Well, the horses, when they got in combat, the Indians said, with all those guns going off, they thought they're on another buffalo hunt. So they were happy. And then the army horses, they have a neigh of fear. And a lot of times they've never been around guns going off until they first get in combat, and they would throw their riders. So that was a real big advantage for the Indian people. I learned so much from Father Bride because he interviewed 400 Indians over a period of a decade or so before he married a nun, Melanie. And then he went to the University of South Dakota, and I was 8 days out of the cockpit in Vietnam, and I was sitting in law school. And then I flew him for 2.5 years, and I learned. And then later on, he got cancer, and I had to finish his book up for him because he had chemo, and it was on, and he just didn't have the energy. So there again, the Marine Corps blessed me by becoming a pilot, and I flew. I didn't have any debt at all when I left law school. It's sort of like your spirits. Indians believe we don't have angels like white people do, but we have something like them. We have a spirit guide, and a real good moral, ethical person will probably become a spirit guide when they go into the spirit world. And that's their reward. They will come back and help certain people that are moral and honest and truthful. That's where your mystic people come from. Your medicine people, medicine men and medicine women. I've been around spirituality a lot because before I went to Vietnam, Fool's Crow, a very powerful holy man. My mom said, Fool's Crow is looking for you. He knows you're going to go across. That means you're going to go off to war. And because World War II and World War I, they said, go across the ocean. We had Sioux warriors in World War I. They came down and recruited us because we were so good at whipping the army during Red Cloud's wars all the way up to Wounded Knee, and then in World War I, they came to recruit us. So many of my uncle was in there, and they came back, and they all had their pictures taken. And that's how Korczak Zolkowski, the sculptor of Crazy Horse Mountain, got to understand what Crazy Horse looked like. He saw some of these Indians that looked like Crazy Horse. And Father Bride told all these Indians that, a lot of them, that the sculptor wants to come down and find out what Crazy Horse looks like. So they put a couple of guys out in front of him at the Holy River Mission, and Father Bride told him to draw. I said, bring your drawing board when you come down. So Korczak had his drawing board, and they put two guys in front of him that looked like him. Eyes bigger, nose smaller, ears longer, whatever, composite drawing. And Korczak got an idea what Crazy Horse looked like. So that conquered the puzzle that he had to get past. What does Crazy Horse look like?
Yeah, you were in a Sundance. So what can you tell me about that?
Well, I took the Sundance vow because I was going to go to Vietnam. I had a very dangerous job. F-4 pilots were being shot down. Prisoner of war, the most numerous were F-4 drivers. And I volunteered. I had supposed to go to law school, but I put it off for a year. I wanted to fly that Phantom in combat. I'm an Indian. I'm a warrior. I didn't put that off. So Fosco had his You Weep You ceremony. Spirits came in and said, you will see the enemy 100 times, and the bullets will bounce from your plane. With that assurance, I said, I'll dance the Sundance. I'll dance the Sundance. And the stone was supposed to come in the ceremony, and the little stone that I wore around my neck called Wotai stone had an eagle on it. So if the stone remains, I'll dance the Sundance. So I took the Sundance vow. Sundance, another Sundancer in there, I said, what are you here for? His little daughter had drowned and he couldn't find her body. So his wife said, go to a medicine man and tell him that you take the Sundance vow to find our daughter. I'm going crazy. We got to have a funeral for her. So he did, and that's the reason he was in Sundance. And they found her body. Spirits told him where it's at. And we believe in spirits. So we believe in God, but God's the one that has the spirits for it. It's like God has the angels for Washichu people. Anyway, we have spirits. Same, probably. So they found the little girl, and then he danced. And then another one listened to us talk that nighttime. We're sleeping in a tent, big tent. And well, you guys, my reason wasn't so tragic. My daughter graduated from college in 5 years. I was so proud. I said, Great Spirit, I thank you that she got through college. I'm going to dance the Sundance. So various reasons. Boys going to Iraq, going to Afghanistan now, they take Sundance vow. 4 days in the hot sun, 4 days you don't eat, and 4 days you don't drink any water, and at the end they pierce you. But that doesn't last long. I mean, you fulfill your vow to God. So that's how you give something back. You give for not being a POW, not being maimed, not being dead, my kids orphans. I'll gladly do the Sundance. I happened to dance. I only had to do one, but I did 6 because the missionaries trying to stop us. So I had to fight the missionaries with AIM, American Indian Movement, and we won. Now we have 50 Sundances throughout our reservations, and throughout America now. So we won. We got our own way. It was banned by Missionaries Lobby Congress. Congress removed the ban thanks to Martin Luther King. So now we're free to believe and create our way. So the Sundance is just like I said, 4 days. You don't eat, but you sweat lodge. You go through a sweat lodge. That's the igloo dwelling. And you go in red hot rocks and you sweat and you pray and sing songs. And you come out and then you go through the Sundance. And then the fourth day, it's an arena and there's big trees in the center and there's ropes hanging down. And the old-time Indians were proud of being called Sioux. Anyway, we Sioux have 5 major ceremonies. There's 7 ceremonies, but the 5 major ones that you see today are Sundance, the gathering of the people to thank Ultimate every year. And we'll go into detail on that. And the Vision Quest is a lone ceremony, just the opposite of Sundance, the annual gathering of the people. And then there is Yuwipi ceremony, spirit calling ceremony. If you're sick or going to go to Vietnam or Iraq or wherever, you want protection from the spirit world, or your daughter is hurt in a car accident and barely coming through, you want her to live, various reasons. You go to a Yuwipi ceremony, a spirit calling ceremony on a more of a smaller level. In the sweat lodge, it prepares you for Sundance, Vision Quest, and at times Yuwipi. And then, of course, the last one is the pipe ceremony. That's just a gathering of one lone individual, or maybe a grouping, a family grouping, a small group, and they will do a pipe ceremony, beseech to the spirit world, and generally asking for something or thanking Creator for all that is done. So let us go with the pipe ceremony. We have peace pipes, generally made out of catlinite, pipe stone. My main mentor, had a green jade pipe. There's no specific material that you have to have, but generally pipe stone, the red stone in Minnesota, miniata is how we say mini, water a lot of, ata. They go and mine it and make their own. I made my own peace pipe, and I carried that with me in the Sundance. So you bring forth your peace pipe out of its covering, and you smudge everybody that's in the room or outside, sometimes sitting in a lodge, and you smudge them with generally sage or cedar, and then you prepare to get ready. Mostly you'll sit in a circle. Our lone individual Vision Quest, which we'll talk about later, will just be out between four directions, red, white, black, and yellow flags or stones that person sits within. They bring forth their pipe, and they load their pipe, and they load it with tobacco, and they'll cap it with a piece of sage or a piece of clover or green plant and put the covering on it until they're going to light it. And then they'll beseech to each direction. The four directions play a very strong part in our culture. North power, east power, south power, west power. Those are the four directions. And these we beseech to with our pipe and acknowledge just in the Sundance with ourselves. We always want to acknowledge that all things come from the four directions made, and that's the way Creator has it planned. And we don't question it, we just do it. So we will start wherever you wish to start with, what direction. I often start with the west power. We owe Piata. We owe the sun. Piata. It goes down. It gets dark. I use black for the west power. The missionaries changed Black Elk's vision around, and they use white for the west power, and they use black for the north power to cross up Black Elk's vision. It was too powerful for them. They didn't want the Indians to go back to their own spirituality, so they started as black for north and white for west power. And you see that a lot you even see it in the newspaper. You see it in Sun News, and you see it on many people have this configuration. And here we owe the sun, it goes down, Piata. What happens when the sun goes down? It gets black. What happens when the white north opens up with its storm, comes down from the north? Wayajata, Wazia. It becomes white. Even nature has the colors right. So that's why we utilize Black Elk colors. And in that vision that he had, it was white north, red east, yellow south, black west. Anyhow, so we beseech and we thank west power for the life-giving rains. And that all the way from the Pacific, the life-giving rains come. And we choni mini, the life-giving rains. Without them, we wouldn't exist. So we thank Ultimate for having west power bring the life-giving rains. And then we also think about rest. You must give your body rest. If you frantic work too much, want more Mazda money, and push yourself, you're going to get sick, and you may not live very long. You want to live in harmony. The more rest you get, the more harmony you have within yourself. You don't get angry. You don't get crabby with your children or your wife don't get crabby with you. You have a much more harmonic. Harmonic means to get along, to bring happiness to all the flora and fauna and all the two-legged and four-legged and the flying ones around you. Harmony. This is what God really wants us to exhibit from ourselves and emanate towards others. Harmony. And in truth and in knowledge seeking, you can approach harmony. So if you get your rest, you are much more harmonic. So we strive to think that very important West Power, Wio Piata. Now we turn with our pipe and we offer to the North Power, Wazia Wayajata. The white giant comes from the north, and it lays down a blanket of white and to cover the Earth Mother so that she can sleep. She needs her rest too. She rests underneath her and builds up her energy for springtime to come. And then she washes the earth clean when the snows melt. Wazia. What do we learn when we winter over in the teepee? We learn confidence. We learn strength. We learn intelligence. If we do not put enough meat away, kill enough buffalo, dry them, we will perish. We will starve that winter. Intelligence. We must respect the other person's space. There's only so much space we each have inside that teepee. You must be polite. You must not talk loud. You must not be pushy. You must do all things that bring harmony. Harmony. And you have great confidence once you've wintered over. You have confidence in yourself. And you introspect during the long winters. If you can learn beading and learn a craft and do that in your little tiny space, all the better. Create songs. Sing your songs. Introspect the depth of life. This is why we're here. We're not here for flippant, stupid reasons. So that is North Power, Wazia. We turn and beseech to West Power, Wio Hiapata. We owe the sun. The red dawn comes up. Early in the morning, you see red dawn. Red. Luta, scarlet, but we use a naming is for red. Red cloud's name is Luta Makpia. And scarlet is for honoring and naming, but it's still red. And when the red dawn comes, every day it comes across. I mean, the world turns really, but we think of it as the sun going across. And the sun brings new knowledge every day if you look for it. The more knowledge you put into this mind, the closer you become to the Creator, because Creator is all knowledge. So you become more like Creator if you seek knowledge. If you stupidly just go through life not even caring nothing, then you are a nothing when you enter the spirit world. And I don't think you'll fare very well. Always try to glean from what you learn. We learn from birds, bees, trees, water, everything ultimate makes. There's knowledge coming across. We owe Hiapata. And then South Power is easy. Itokaga. It makes grow. Provision. You must put enough provision away so that you can endure the long winter. But you also must put a provision away to endure the summer, to endure the spring, to endure the fall. So that Itokaga, it makes grow. The sun comes up higher and higher, puts more energy into the earth, and things happen. Things grow. Buffalo graze, corn grows. So yellow is the color of Itokaga. Then lastly, we have two other powers. One is Father Sky, and one is Earth Spirit. That is the 6 powers of the universe. Tate Topa is the 4 directions made by God for us to utilize while we're here. And then, of course, Father Sky is the 5th power. Blue for Father Sky. All things of the air will be here to help the Earth Mother in a time to come, a dangerous time to come. And we're in that time right now, according to Black Elk's vision. It's a dangerous time of corruption, greed, control, and Earth's danger. Mother Earth is to be in great danger. Father Sky warned that, said all things of the air will be here to help the Earth Mother in this troubling time to come, which is upon us now. And what are they? Well, they're the waves going through. television waves, radio waves, laser waves, Wi-Fi waves, waves that we don't even know about, that we haven't discovered yet. 200, 300 years ago, radio waves and television waves were not even discovered, yet they were here. Who allowed that? Ultimate power. Ultimate power wants us to communicate. If we communicate enough, possibly we can wipe out this dangerous, religious, fomented wars, torture, and greed. And that is, if we don't, we will perish. Communication, by talking to each other, we find out that the person that we feared and suspicion may not be as bad as we think. Maybe we're the ones that should be feared and suspicion. All by releasing the veils that we throw over each other, or also exposing the Teflon that many of the dictators have held over themselves to keep people from really knowing who they really are and how dangerous they are. So communication can erase all that. All things of the sky will be here for the Earth Mother to help her in a dangerous time to come. That's Black House Vision. Now, lastly, the Earth Spirit, Inamaka. Makpia Ate was Father Sky. Makpia, Sky, Father Ate. Inamaka, Mother Earth. Maka is Earth. Inamaka said at the end of that vision, powerful vision, behold, follow me. I will show you this blue man of corruption and greed. And the earth parted up. They were up in the sort of like a heaven sky, plains. It parted, and they looked down on the earth, and there was the blue man of greed and destruction. Birds were falling out of the sky. Animals were dying, gaunt. Grass was wilted. The streams, the fish were bloating up. And the blue man was in this stream where three rivers come, and he was enjoying spreading disaster. And in the distance, you could see factories spewing black smoke. And he had a big money bags, and he dangled a set of parents, a mother and a father. He dangled them like puppets. Control, greed, corruption, bad, lila, shicha. And he was ruining the earth. And that, it had no leadership. We had no dictators. We had no dictators because we had a spirituality. We didn't have organized religion. We didn't have an organization of medicine men, a hierarchy that plied on the dictator and the dictator plied on them. Keep the people stupid and fearful and superstitious so you can control them. We didn't have that. We were here for thousands of years. Thousands. Mississippi ran blue. We did not have the stressful lives that people have nowadays. We didn't have prejudice. Runaway slaves, we took them in. They intermarried with us. Even we Sioux, we didn't see many runaway slaves, but what we did find, we took them in. We had one called Keoxasapa. He lived with us, died with us, married with us. And he composed songs even. And when we first found him, he thought we were going to eat him because the plantation owners all told him, if you run away, the Indians are all cannibals. They'll eat you. They did this to keep the slaves from running away. But times were so bad on his plantation that he ran away anyhow. He came up to Missouri, and we found him. He was starving, so we fed him. He said, I ate very little first months that you had me. You're always trying to feed me, always trying to feed me. He said, I knew you were trying to fatten me up so you could eat me. After he learned to try our language, he told us that. But then by then he had married into us, and then he was no longer afraid of us. But anyhow, we were not prejudiced. I became an author. I wear this at Crazy Horse Mountain. The veterans like it. My Phantom, and of course my author in Indian, Ed Nichols. I never thought I would be one, but I was so disgusted with the white writers. The white writers lied about us, exaggerated, never told the truth. And the Indian authors did seem to be the same. They just didn't have any content. And nobody wrote about spirituality. And somebody had to, because I got disgusted with the Christianizing of our spirituality. And there's anywhere near Christian or Muslim or any organized religion. So that made me write Mother Earth Spirituality. And I had the experiences. I had 6 Sundances, is quite a bit of experience. I had great mentors, Fool Scroll, Bill Eaglefeather, John Fire, pretty hard to beat. And they were powerful. They could call in the spirits. I've been to Uweepi ceremonies that you wouldn't believe. I've been through a Sundance where the lone cloud out of the blue sky came and rained lightly on us in a no-wind day from way over in the horizon. And that was pretty, a pair of eagles flew a circle over us, all kinds of natural acknowledgement. So I had these experiences, and also the missionaries I was fighting. And I love a fight. I'm a warrior. I like a fight. And I usually win. So I started writing, and my wife was really smart. She said, I tried writing fiction, and it just didn't go. I couldn't get it published. She says, write nonfiction. She says, she was an airline stewardess. A lot of them are pretty smart. They see a lot of the world. And so I did. And boom, it sailed right through HarperCollins. 100,000 printing. And I was working at the city attorney's office. And after that, I quit. You became a writer because the Book of the Month Club picked it up. 300,000. You get about $1.50 a book from publishers. And I printed some myself, and I make more than that for the ones I print myself. And so Mother Earth Spirituality. And I simply told about what I told here in this movie here, about the ceremonies and the Wotai stone. A special stone is waiting out there for you in the world. Go to a creek area, and there'll be a stone there, and it'll call out to you, and that's your Wotai stone. And that's made by God. You exist. There's no such thing as time. Time is just, we don't know. It's a mystery. But we existed way back, because if that stone has your emblem on it, or your name and not your natural name, you existed way back then. So all these miracles that I saw being in combat, didn't get hit exactly by a SAM missile, but the blast knocked out an engine. You'll see the enemy 100 times, and the bullets will bounce from your plane. My intake was scorched and knocked the engine out, and I got it relit, and we went in and killed the SAM site. Unbelievable. Crashed at the end of the runway. Got spun around by the huge, actually kind of like bands that stop you with your tail hook. And I hit it so hard, I stretched them out to max, and it dragged me backwards. It spun me around. And I was in shock, of course. The fire truck, I saw the fire trucks coming down, and they're the same level as you. And they stepped right across into my cockpit and got me unhooked and put me in the fire truck. I went to sick bay, and they gave me some booze and bring me out of shock. And then the flight surgeon took me to lunch. He said, "You want to fly again?" I said, "Can I?" He said, "Yeah, we'll put you on a late afternoon flight." And I had 2 strong shots of booze, but midair almost crashed the chopper I did fly choppers before I got in jets. And I hit, and I bounced and bounced, and I snapped the tail wheel locking pin and back. It's the only damage I did. And I stopped from here to my whirling blades in front of Dawson's Motel, and it was all lit up. So I unstrapped and went on in, and I looked like a moon man because I still had my helmet on, and all that noise out there. And they were huddled in there thinking that Martians had come or something. And there's North Carolina, Southerners are superstitious as hell. So I walked in, they went, "Ah!" They got all scared. And I said, "Can I use your phone?" I called the squadron. "Hey, Chief, where are you?" I said, "Dawson's Motel." "What the hell are you doing there?" I said, "Well, almost avoiding a midair." And he said, "Stay there. We'll send it." "Who you got?" I said, "Well, I got a bunch of paratroopers that I went down to Bogue Field to pick them up. That's what my mission was." "Well, stay right there." I wasn't going to go anywhere. He said, "We'll come down and pick you up."
How many books have you written then?
Oh, my books. So all of that was exciting. So I wrote, I think, 13 books. Roughly 30. Yeah, it's 13. And the main one was Mother Earth Spirituality. And then since that went so well, then I was able financially to be an author. That is strictly about our Indian spirituality. And then next was Nature's Way. Well, that's HarperCollins also, like Mother Earth Spirituality, and that is an environmental Mother Earth Spirituality. I go into heat, thin, gone, and too many. Heating planet, thinning ozone, gone resources, overpopulation, the last 4 chapters, and what the Indians did to prevent that. That's a good book, Nature's Way. And then I did Rainbow Tribe, and that was, white people are so curious about our way, and it's good for them. And that keeps them from being prejudiced against us, too. If they understand and know our spirituality, they're less apt to be like the evangelicals. Oh, you're going to go to hell, and Jesus saves, and we're going to come out and proselytize and all that. They have less of a tendency to do that, and then they respect us more, too. They don't say bad things about us. My writing has culminated now from spirituality more into historical. And Crazy Horse Chief Red Cloud is my major seller now. And because it truthfully tells what really happened to Battle of Bighorn. We had to Winchester, and I've discovered much material that is not in the books that the White Writers write. And so I'm pretty content with my writing. I had to do it, and there's no one else could do it that certainly didn't volunteer to do it. I seemed like I was the one that had to do it. So where am I at now? Well, I'm older. I had a big cancer scare, and I've come through it, but it was 4-stage cancer. So maybe I'm not completely through it, but so far I am. I'm doing a holistic. Chemo took the hair off my head, and it made me do a little thinking that I may not be around forever. So I promised God I'd write a book, Terrorism, Religious Extremism versus Spirituality. And in there, I think that book is needed. The world has to embrace spirituality, quit arguing and fighting. Remember harmony? We've got to learn harmony with each other. And organized religion, you got to be exposed as a hierarchy, always working hand in hand with dictators. It isn't working. And they have too much superstition. And I challenge them. Noah's Ark, dinosaurs running around, all this fallacy, Adam and Eve, and then this exaggeration, the neglect of Creator's 10 Commandments, the main one, thou shalt have but one God before thee. The Jews believe that way. We are a lot like the Jews, and they tell me that too. We believe in one great spirit, but a great spirit's a mystery. Great spirit is all truth. Great spirit's all knowledge. And great spirit, we think, wants us to be harmonic. That's the only way we're going to whip this. And this overpopulation, as in nature's way, exposes, that is the death knell of the human race. And we're ignoring it, and it's exponential. It increases, increases, and increases. So that's my last work, and I guess that's where I'm at now.
Thank you for joining us today on Hidden Heritage. I'm your host, Paul LaRoche, reminding you that if you enjoyed the podcast, share us with your friends and help us spread the word. Till next time, from all of us in Brule, thank you.